and a very warm welcome to today's session brought to you by Team Textbook Super Coaching. I hope all of you are doing really well this Friday evening. आप सभी लोगों ने अच्छी तरह से I think काफी सारे doubts I had replied with proof. Though definitely questions जो थे there were certainly questions that you should look at challenging. Good evening Satyendra, Tehseen, Anushika, Anjali. Good evening everybody. आज का ये जो सेशन है दिस इज गोना बी अ वेरी कंसाइज ब्रीफ सेशन ऑल टुगेदर क्योंकि टेक्निकली ये दो पार्ट्स के अंदर स्प्लिट है. ठीक है, ये जो पूरी की पूरी क्लास है ये दो पार्ट्स के अंदर स्प्लिट है. और जैसा कि मैंने आपको कहा था कि हर वीक हम एक थीम लेंगे और इस हफ्ते की जो थीम थी वो थी जॉन सदरलैंड जो क्रिटिक है. सो जॉन सदरलैंड की ही एक बुक है एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर बुक एक्चुअली टेल्स यू अबाउट 500. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली कोपियस जैसे आपका ऑक्सफोर्ड कंपेनियन है ठीक उसी तरह से अल्फाबेटिकली इसके अंतर्गत आपकी 500 नॉवेल्स है. आई डोंट नो इफ यू आर एबल टू सी दिस और नॉट. आई प्रॉब्ली सो ये वाला जो जॉन सदरलैंड का वर्क है इसका पीडीएफ मेरे पास नहीं है लेकिन मैं देखूंगी कि अगर पीडीएफ आएगा. सो ये दो पार्ट्स के अंदर वी आर गोइंग टू बी लुकिंग एट इट. सो दिस इज हाउ टू बी वेल रेड अ गाइड टू 500 नॉवेल्स. अब इस तरह की बुक्स की क्या खासियत होती है, जैसे जब आप पढ़ाई कर रहे होते हैं आपने एक टॉपिक को कवर किया, यू कैन एक्चुअली पिक अप योर सॉरी ऑक्सफोर्ड कंपेनियन, पेंगुइन कंपेनियन आपने अपनी शेल्फ से उठाई एंड यू कैन जस्ट लाइक रिवाइज. जैसे फॉर इंस्टेंस अभी खोलते ही नाइटमेयर एबे आया. Who's written Nightmare Abbey? Northanger Abbey सबको पता होगा. Nightmare Abbey थॉमस लव पीकॉक जिसने 4 Ages of Poetry के बारे में लिखा था जिसका रिप्लाई पीबी शेली लिख रहे थे. राइट, रिमेंबर क्लास में वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि क्या नोशन है पोएट्स का टुवर्ड्स द वेरियस रोल्स दैट लिटरेचर एक्चुअली प्लेज. तो ये चीजें आपको थोड़ी सी याद रखनी है. गुड इवनिंग अंजलि, अमृता, जहान, कस्तूरी, लिजी, हिमांशी, इथेरियल, फातिमा. हिमांशी बच्चे आई एम सो सॉरी, आई थिंक आपका रिस्पॉन्स आई विल बी गिविंग इट टू यू. आई विल बी टेकिंग अ लुक एट दैट, डोंट वरी एट ऑल. तो ये इस तरह से आपका जो जैसे न्यू ग्रैब स्ट्रीट बाय जॉर्ज George Gissing as it is a very important Victorian writer that you are having. तो ये books का ये फायदा होता है that you can just pick it up when you are done with it. You can actually read it, you can revise it और वो आपके examination के लिए काफी helpful हो जाता है. Of course इसके अंदर sticky notes काफी काम करते हैं because you can always just put your sticky notes and then keep on reviewing it. Okay, आज का ये पार्ट बहुत बेसिक पार्ट रहने वाला है. आज मैं आपको 5 novels इंट्रोड्यूस करने वाली हूँ. आई विल ऑल्सो सेंड जॉन सदरलैंड का ये 5 नॉवेल्स का जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग या समरी है ऑन द टेलीग्राम प्लेटफॉर्म जो आज हम 5 नॉवेल्स को कवर करेंगे और इसके सेकंड पार्ट में हम 50 नॉवेल्स को इन वन गो कवर करेंगे. तो आज की क्लास थोड़ा सा लाइटर रहेगी बट इसके जो सेकंड पार्ट में होगा राइट हाउ टू बी वेल रेड का सेकंड पार्ट जो मैं अब क्योंकि कल हमारा वो क्लास हो गया था राइट, कल हमारा जो क्लास हो गया था आपका जस्ट टू एक्सप्लेन यू कि कैसे आप आंसर की को चैलेंज कर सकते हैं, व्हाट यू हैव टू डू, प्रूफ कैसे आता है एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. तो कल की क्लास की वजह से सो ये मैं नेक्स्ट वीक जो मैराथन लेंगे हम लोग संडे का मैराथन उसमें मैं इसका सेकंड पार्ट कवर करवाऊंगी जिसमें हम 50 इंपॉर्टेंट नॉवेल्स आउट ऑफ 500 नॉवेल्स 50 सो टेक्निकली 55 नॉवेल्स आपकी कवर हो जाएंगी. 5 हम आज कर रहे हैं थोड़ा सा ब्रीफली. ओके, सो आज की क्लास इज गोना बी वेरी ब्रीफ. गुड इवनिंग फातिमा, प्रगति, सोनाली, गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन, गुड इवनिंग. देरी नहीं करते हुए फटाफट से स्टार्ट करते हैं. Let's just very quickly dive into it. Let's just very quickly dive into this. जल्दी से करते हैं और आज की क्लास like I told you is going to be a little brief. ठीक है, so I hope you are clear that this is a work. I hope you are absolutely clear. ये जो book है How to be well read, this is a book that is written by John Sutherland. ठीक है, it's a compilation, it's a kind of a dictionary of important novels, right? ये आपकी dictionary है of important novels. और जैसा मैंने कहा था इस हफ्ते we were focusing on John Sutherland as a critic. हम लोगों ने पहले पार्ट में जॉन सदरलैंड की बुक देखी थी राइट. वी टॉक्ड अबाउट जॉन सदरलैंड इन ग्रेटर डिटेल अबाउट कैसे ही इज राइटिंग शॉर्ट हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंग्लिश लिटरेचर. वो हम लोग रिवाइज कर रहे थे राइट. गुड इवनिंग सोनाली, पूजा, गुड इवनिंग प्रगति. ठीक है, सो ये चीजें आपको थोड़ी बहुत ध्यान में रखनी पड़ेंगी. दीज आर सर्टेन थिंग्स दैट यू विल हैव टू बी अ लिटिल मोर माइंडफुल ऑफ राइट. तो ये चीज प्लीज याद रखिएगा. ऑफ कोर्स एक और चीज आपका फाउंडेशन बैच आज बिकॉज आई टोल्ड यू और वो डॉक्टर का अपॉइंटमेंट भी कैंसिल हो गया था. एनीवे आई हैड टू टेक माय ब्रदर टू द डॉक्टर बट एनीवे आई होप आपको याद है कि आज का जो आपका फाउंडेशन बैच का क्लास है दैट विल टेक प्लेस एट 2 PM ऑन संडे राइट. फाउंडेशन बैच का जो आपका क्लास है दैट विल will take place on Sunday at 2 p.m. एग्जॉस्टिवली करिएगा, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्लास है. सो संडे को आप 12 बजे से लेके कम से कम 4 बजे तक ना कोई प्लान मत बनाइएगा, ठीक है. इस संडे को 12 बजे से लेके 4 बजे तक प्लीज कोई प्लान मत बनाइएगा, कोई प्लान मत रखिएगा, ठीक है. प्लीज मेक अ नोट ऑफ दैट, उसका प्लीज थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखिएगा. अच्छा, now I have a question for all of you. Have you heard about these novels? आपने इन novels के बारे में सुना है? आपने इन novels के बारे में have you heard about these novels altogether? Love in a Cold Time, The Lost Weekend, Love Story, I'm sure आपने सुना होगा. The Loved One, ये किसने लिखा है? Right, ये किसने लिखा है? Devashish, cutoffs and analyzing the entire paper, we will be covering it. You don't have to worry about it, and these are all conjectures, right? See, I'll tell you, like even if we tell you the cutoff, which largely remains the same, of course, उस पे views तो आ जाते हैं, but technically, if you look at it, the hard reality is, like, the results are going to be out. They'll let you know. They'll seal the fate. Of course, you'll come to know. You'll have a proper understanding of that. But anyway, good evening, Maya. चलिए जल्दी से बताइए, जल्दी से बताइए. यस निशु, मंडे टू फ्राइडे बच्चे 10:30 PM, ठीक है. मंडे टू फ्राइडे 10:30 PM ये आपकी वाईटी क्लासेस का टाइमिंग्स है. चलिए जल्दी बताइए, हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट दीज नॉवेल्स? हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट दीज नॉवेल्स? एंड ये किसने लिखी है? हैव यू हर्ड अबाउट इट? आज जो 5 नॉवेल्स हम करने वाले हैं, दे आर फ्रॉम दी अल्फाबेट एल. तो अल्फाबेटिकली बेसिकली इसके अंदर आपके सारे के सारे वर्क्स कवर्ड हैं, राइट. एंड इनका जो डिटेल जो जॉन सदरलैंड बोलते हैं वो मैं टेलीग्राम प्लेटफॉर्म पे नीरजा मैम टेक्स्ट बुक एज वेल एज इंग्लिश लिटरेचर हसलर्स पे मैं वो डाल दूंगी. तो आप उसको वेरी गुड टेस्टीन, एक्सीलेंट एक्सीलेंट एक्सीलेंट. टेस्टीन हैज गॉट वन ऑफ द आंसर्स करेक्ट. आई एम सो ग्लैड. वैसे you should have known love story also. Eric Segal was considered to be like a popular writer. Scroll करते हुए जैसे when you are looking at these reels, so Vidya Balan also said that I've fallen in love with reading again ever since I was guided by Prajakta Kohli. She's an influencer to read Norwegian Wood. Norwegian Wood किसने लिखा है? Murakami, right? So Murakami is writing that particular work, and it's an amazing work that enables you. It's set in 1960s, and it takes you to a different world altogether. Okay, no worries at all, no worries at all. But I'm pleasantly surprised by Tessin. Excellent Tessin, a very good try. So यही चीज जॉन सदरलैंड आपको सेंसिटाइज करते हैं that there are a whole huge important chunk of writings that are actually one of the 500 writings that you're able to see. So Love in a Cold Time is written by Nancy Mitford, as we had got Tessin. Tessin ने बिल्कुल सही जवाब दे दिया था, right? Tessin had given the right answer over here. That was really amazing, Tessin. Good to see that you were able to answer this, because mostly everybody is able to answer. Everybody is able to answer Eric Segal, but mostly people get this wrong. So Love in Cold Climate is by Nancy Mitford. Okay, The Lost Weekend is by Charles Jackson. Love Story, like I told you, is by Eric Segal. And The Loved One is by our beloved very own Evelyn Waugh, right? So again, what John Sutherland tries to make it a mix of, it's just not the herd novelists, but also the important 500 novels that are coming, that are getting adapted. आप surprised रह जाएंगे. जैसे हम लोग, we have entered in the foundation batch with the second module on literary criticism. I'm really glad to see the classroom interaction. तो I think last class में, yesterday की class में, एक बच्चे ने, I'm forgetting the name of the child, बहुत प्यारा सा question पूछा था, that what is the relevance of literary criticism, what is the relevance of literature itself. तो आप जो OTT प्लेटफॉर्म पे अपना कंटेंट कंज्यूम करते हैं, आधे से ज्यादा कंटेंट जो आपका आ रहा है, that is actually coming from literary text, that's actually coming from literature, right? तो वो चीज आपके लिए बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है, and you'll be surprised to see the enormous copious amount of work that is coming under this particular category. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Do remember that. Now, who has written Lost Illusions? Lost Illusions किसने लिखा है? Who's the writer who's associated with this work called Lost Illusions? Again, जैसे any page that you're going to be flipping, you will be able to see that there is some आपको थोड़ा सा FOMO भी होगा. Oh my God, ये भी नहीं पता है, चलो ये भी रिवाइज कर लेते हैं. तो ये डिक्शनरीज में ये 2-3 चीजें तो खास होती ही हैं, that you can always just pick it up from your shelf, and because abhi hum January mein hai, June mein 6 months hai, so you can actually make sure that we are preparing really well. We're preparing really well. So who has written this particular work? Who has written this particular work? At least give it a try. Don't lost illusions, ye jo work hai, and this is a very important work, right? This is a work that has also been made into a proper work, and you know this right now, right? You know this particular writer. So when we are talking about this entire work, I actually can bet that you know him. Who is this person? No, 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 no. This is not Milton. This is not Milton. Milton के time पे novel start नहीं हुई थी. So this particular book only tells you about 500 important novels, right? So How to Be Well Read by John Sutherland. ये जो किताब है, ये आपको सिर्फ और सिर्फ it is telling you about novels. So Milton was, again a bad guess, क्योंकि आपका logical guess भी होना चाहिए. You shouldn't be having, illogical guesses altogether. Excellent, excellent. Tehseen is on fire, or maybe Tehseen is doing a Google searches far, too quickly. This is Balzac that we are talking about. Now look at how beautifully, अगर आपको जैसे क्या होता है कि जब हम online resources refer करते हैं तो हम थोड़ा confuse हो जाते हैं कि किस किताब से कितना पढ़ना चाहिए, क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. अब बहुत beautifully in 1.5 pages the entire gist of Balzac's writings, as well as the entire gist of what is coming in this particular work, Lost Illusions, right? और इसके ऊपर आपका इस पे based आपका एक proper series भी बन चुका है, and that is the relevance of literature, that your entertainment predominantly is coming from these textual details altogether. So Balzac, the writer who's associated with, the human comedy, or a very important pillar when we are looking at European literature, French literature, हम लोग Balzac को पढ़ते हैं. Balzac, Zola. Remember, Zola is introducing properly, he's a practitioner of naturalism, whereas Balzac is actually introducing realism. तो ये चीजें आपको ध्यान रखनी पड़ेंगी. Yes, excellent, Debashish. Very good, very good, very good. Okay, please guide me what to read in depth for HP set exam. Shabnam, आप हिमाचल प्रदेश set exam को बेझिझक जो we are doing it in the foundation batch. Just अगर आप सिर्फ वो class notes भी attend करोगे, that will be more than enough. Okay, for HP set, for most of the set exams, the selection rate with this kind of content is definitely going to be high, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Fatima, yes, Fatima, this is a book. ये book का title ही है How to Be Well Read, right? How to Be Well Read by John Sutherland. I'll click a picture also and send it on the Telegram platform. और आज जो books हम लोग cover कर रहे हैं उनका summary मैं दूंगी. और जैसे मैंने कहा, आज हम सिर्फ 5 books cover कर रहे हैं. That too I'm just telling you, I'm nudging you to read them. अब आपका जो marathon class होगा next week, उसमें हम इस particular book से 50 novels को cover करेंगे. ठीक है, इस पर्टिकुलर वर्क से 50 नॉवेल्स को हम कवर करेंगे. सो Balzac is absolutely the right answer. I'll come over here so that you'll be able to see it a little better. One second, I'll just shift myself a little here so that you'll be able to see it a little better. Right, so like I said, Balzac is the person who's writing Lost Illusions, right? ये Lost Illusions जो है Balzac का work है, telling you the story of a young man trying to make his way in the literary minefield of Paris altogether, right? तो पूरा का पूरा ये चीज बताते हैं. एंड Balzac की बहुत ही फेमस लाइन क्या है? Everything is taxed, everything is sold, everything is manufactured, even success is manufactured. और Sutherland, आपको एक यहाँ पे एक लाइन है Sutherland जो बोलते हैं that how the narrative begins. ये फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में नहीं है, सेकंड में नहीं है, थर्ड पैराग्राफ में आ रहा है. The narrative begins in provincial town of Angoulême. ये Angoulême का जो टाउन है, ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जा चुका है. Genius may be born there, but it will never flower. Right, it is set in a town, so it is set in a town, provincial town, right? Writers like एकमात्र reason of failure क्या होता था? They were ahead of the times. You may be having genius. This is exactly what Virginia Woolf also talks about when she's talking about the character of Judith Shakespeare in A Room of One's Own. She says even if there was an intelligent woman like a Judith Shakespeare, Shakespeare's sister, she wouldn't have been given the circumstances to flower. तो बहुत ही touching lines आ जाती हैं. The narrative begins in provincial town of Angoulême. Let me just write the spellings also down in case if you're not able to understand the the pronunciation altogether, that where is it set, right? And इस particular town के अंदर what is it? That genius may be born but it will never flower, as the young hero is instructed by his patron Paris, my dear, is the only life for superior people. आपने सुना होगा कि anybody who wants to become an actor, where are they going? They want to go to Bombay. Why? Because they have this belief that if they're going to Bombay, they will be able to flourish. तो कैसे? अब देखो, फॉर इंस्टेंस अगर आप अपना पीएचडी एंट्रेंस पे लिख रहे हो एंड यू आर ट्राइंग टू टॉक अबाउट टू डिफरेंट कल्चर्स ऑल टुगेदर, अब सब लोग लिखेंगे, एवरीबडी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट, एवरीबडी विल से दैट ओके स्टॉन्डाल का रेड एंड ब्लैक इज टॉकिंग अबाउट यू नो द टू कॉन्ट्रोडिक्टरी साइड्स, or even for that matter a lot of 19th century condition of England novels are talking about it. लेकिन अगर आप बाल्जैक का लॉस्ट इल्यूशंस बता रहे हो, that how it is set in a town right of Anglo mean, and they are trying to compare this town with Paris, which actually gives you opportunities to actually flourish better, but that's not the reality, right? तो इस तरह से ये पूरा का पूरा कंटिन्यू होता है. I'll share this particular summary also so that you can read it as bedtime stories. and जैसा कि मैंने कहा, जो नेक्स्ट संडे का आपका इस संडे का मैराथन तो जॉन सदरलैंड की बुक 50 इंपॉर्टेंट लिटरेरी आइडियाज के ऊपर है. नेक्स्ट मैराथन में 50 नॉवेल्स में इस पर्टिकुलर बुक से आपको प्रॉपर एग्जॉस्टिवली कवर करवाने वाली हूँ, ठीक है? और इसी से रिलेटेड यू नो देयर इज आल्सो अ होमवर्क फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू. इट बी ग्रेट इफ यू कैन एक्चुअली वॉच दिस मूवी. लाइक आई सेड कि relevance of literature, role of literature, this is something which is coming out clearly, that you know there are adaptations that you're able to see, तो ये आप मूवी भी देख सकते हैं. Okay, so please remember that. Now there is you know, like I said, the beauty of this particular book is that you have a mix of both heard and unheard stories. ठीक है? William Golding, the recipient of the Nobel Prize writer, he is writing Lord of the Flies, and Lord of the Flies की सबसे important theme क्या है? Lord of the Flies की सबसे important theme है each one of us is capable of actually becoming a monster, right? जैसे अगर हम कहते हैं अरे Hitler was really crazy, Hitler was really bad, he led to the killing of you know quote unquote officially 5 lakh Jews, but perhaps more than that. But each one of us, Golding is trying to tell you that each one of us, when we are in the seat of power, is actually capable of doing such heinous acts, right? तो ये चीज भी आपकी बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है. This is also something that you'll have to keep in mind, that is really important for your overall understanding. I'll give you these lines. These lines are like you know really stellar over here about William Golding's Lord of the Fly. Okay, and you know यहाँ पर if you look at it, they have properly described it also, that how you know how they are creating their own community. Civilization is not something that can actually come in. Compare this with Life of Pi by Jan Martel, that the only religion is survival, right? You will forget all your religion and religious beliefs, because your only religion then becomes the religion of survival. Okay, I'll read one line which is very interesting. Okay, and they say that the three principles, John Sutherland कहते हैं, the three principles in the opening chapter of Lord of the Flies are Ralph, Jack, and Piggy. Right? Ralph is introduced vividly in the first paragraph itself. The boy with fair hair lowered himself down the last few feet of rock and began to pick his way toward the lagoon, though he had taken off his cool sweater and trailed it now from one hand. His grey shirt stuck to him and his hair was plastered to his forehead. So the way that you know the three important characters are coming in and how he's defined all of that. By the way, Lord of the Flies का आपको Oxford Companion में भी exhaustive summary मिल जाएगा. And otherwise, you can also, you know, look at the summary from either your lit charts, Spark Notes, York Notes, as well as Course Hero. In किसी भी एक platform को भी पकड़ के, you can actually read it. It's really important. It's really pivotal. Lord of the Flies that you're able to see by Golding. Golding is a Nobel Prize winning writer, telling you about these British boys who are actually stranded, and they try to recreate civilization. What are they trying to recreate? They're trying to recreate civilization, but that's not happening. Right? That is not happening. They're transcending into savagery. Each one of us is capable of that, because the only true religion is the religion of survival. Right? That is what you are actually able to see over here. So please keep that in mind. Who has written London Fields? London Fields जो आपका work आ रहा है, ये किसने लिखा है? Who's the writer? Let's pay our bets on how many of you think that Tehseen will be able to answer it. How many of you think that Tehseen will be able to answer it पहले? How many of you are able to look at, and probably you are thinking that Tehseen will actually get it right? तो जल्दी से बताइए, who is the writer who's written this particular work called London Fields? Again, London Fields is also a very important work, because whenever we are talking about this writer, both father son are important, right? Both father son actually make for a really good. Yes, Fatima, very good, very good. Yes, they're stuck. Yes, everyone. Yes. This is Martin Emmons. This is Martin Emmons, and surprisingly, इस particular alphabet L के अंदर ना सिर्फ Martin Emmons की book आ रही है London Fields, but थोड़े से ही pages के बाद you are also able to see जब L letter end होता है Lucky Jim by Kingsley Amis, and Lucky Jim is a very important campus novel, right? Lucky Jim is a very important campus novel that you are able to see. Remember, Dixon was alive again. This is Lucky Jim Dixon, right? Jim Dixon that we are talking about, anti-hero, right? The man who's standing for Angry Young Man movement. यहाँ पर he has beautifully even explained it. So when you come on to page 301 of the book, Jim Dixon का जो character sketch है, character analysis है, वो properly बताया भी गया है, वो properly show भी किया गया है. That is what you're largely able to see over here. So please keep that in mind. London Fields by Martin Emmons. Martin Emmons is an important writer that you're able to see, that you're able to look at. So Martin Emmons is coming. Martin Emmons is really important for you and for your overall understanding. Okay? And please remember, यहाँ पर what are you able to see? Docu-fiction, crime fiction, romance and science fiction. Montage style of writing was something which is very, very common, very, very popular when we are looking at your 20th century writings overall. So Martin Emmons is a writer who's writing London Fields, right? So London Fields is a work written by Martin Emmons. Martin Emmons is a writer who's coming up with London Fields overall. That is what you're able to see. So ये जो है, it is a kind of a murder mystery in reverse altogether, right? That means you know who's actually there. So if you see, it's a novel that is concerned with dying, right? That is concerned with dying altogether. That is what you're actually able to see. And it's beautifully, if you ये वाला ये actually ये London Fields हो गया, कुछ कुछ और works हैं, precisely John Sutherland has got it right. और Sutherland mostly ये सारे के सारे novels में is also telling about his own personal opinion on why he's added these novels in the list of 500 important novels. So that is the beautiful part of it. It looks like as if we are only sharing. जैसे Sanshari is telling Tessin, Tessin is telling Devashish, Devashish is telling Shabnam, Shabnam is telling Fatima, Fatima is telling Satyendra कि भाई मुझे ये novel क्यों पसंद है. So you're actually able to see that element overall. So Martin M is set in London of 1999 with an unidentified crisis that's on the horizon altogether, right? Nicola 6, right? And the premonition that she's having about her own death. She tries to identify and entice her murderer. That is that is how we are able to see that this entire work is actually concerned with dying overall, and it's a story with a different touch altogether, right? And that's the beauty of your postmodern writers that you're able to see. ये London Fields की एक line काफी important है. I'll just make you read this line quickly. And this line is, this narrative actually opens also. This is a true story, but I can't believe it's really happening. It's a murder story too. I can't believe my luck, and a love story. I think of all strange things. So late in the century, so late in goddamn day. So starting में बता दिया गया है. The starting opening lines are only telling you that, and Sutherland tries to capture this as well, right? Sutherland tries to capture this as well. Yes, yes, absolutely right, Shabnam. इसको क्या कहते हैं? Shabnam has asked a very good question. So for instance, Shabnam, बच्चे remember George Orwell का 1984 is actually something which is not coming in 1984, right? So ये when you are talking about 1984 by Orwell, that is actually not getting published in 1984. राइट. सो इस चीज को क्या कहा जाता है? इस चीज को क्या कहा जाता है? इस चीज को आप कहते हो. सो वन इज योर एनालेप्सिस, द अदर इज प्रोलेप्सिस, राइट? एक क्या है? एक है आपका एनालेप्सिस, एनालेप्सिस फ्लैशबैक, Prolepsis, flash forward. So what are you actually trying to do? You are actually trying to flash forward. So ये तो बहुत common characteristic है. वैसे ये आपका अंडरस्टैंडिंग लिटरेचर, स्टडिंग लिटरेचर, ये बुक भी है प्रमोद की नायर की, इसकी भी समरी मैं एक बार करवा दूंगी, इसका तो पीडीएफ भी शायद इजीली अवेलेबल है. ओके, सो प्लीज कीप दैट इन माइंड ऑल टुगेदर. ऑलराइट. Mara, देखो एक चीज आई जस्ट टेल यू, यू नो एक्शन एंड एग्जीक्यूशन इज एक्चुअली गोइंग टू बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. जैसे आजकल हमारे टाइम में वी आर एबल टू सी, वी आर यू नो लिविंग इन द शार्क टैंक जनरेशन. अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर लाइक, ओ माय गॉड, माय आइडिया, मेरा आइडिया अगर चुरा लिया तो ये तो बिलियन डॉलर कंपनी बना लेंगे. आइडिया इज एक्चुअली अ नेब्यूला अनलेस एंड अनटिल इट्स नॉट एग्जीक्यूटेड. सिमिलरली आपको थोड़ा एनवायरनमेंट बनाना पड़ेगा, राइट? यू विल हैव टू मेक यू नो हैव अ रूम डेडिकेटेड टू योर स्टडी. Make sure that that room has all the necessary paraphernalia. Make sure you focus on your posture also. Sit properly. आप एक content बनाइए, you have to sit and study. There is no proper, otherwise आप कभी start नहीं कर पाओगे. अभी जो हाल ही में भी हम लोगों ने क्लासेस लिए हैं, just start doing those also. So that is going to be very important. You'll have to definitely wake up and study. That is important. Okay. Moving on right now. Moving on. So this is of course London Fields. Like I said, Samson Young, the unsuccessful American writer, swaps a house with Mark Asprey, right? A fashionable British writer who lives in Notting Hill. Notting Hill भी एक movie है by the way. All right. We're in 1999 and Samson Young sets foot to Europe after being away for 10 years. Okay. So पूरा का पूरा setting है, and how you are able to see that Martin Amis actually takes this forward, right? Martin Amis. Martin Amis, how is he related to Kingsley Amis? Kingsley Amis's son is Martin Amis, and Martin Amis is writing, sorry, Kingsley Amis is writing Lucky Jim, right? Lucky Jim, which is a path-breaking campus novel. Okay, so please keep that in mind. All right, that's okay. That's okay. That's our choice, right? We've all made choices. We've all had hectic lives. We're all having difficult lives. But that's the beauty of the entire thing, right? Acha, by the way, this reminds me, Maya's story reminds me when Maya is saying she's having 2 kids. When I started mentoring and coaching people, I remember I had a colonel in the second year, and this is during offline batches that we would have. This colonel, you know, he had taken early retirement, और इन्होंने क्या किया था, थोड़ा सा sabbatical ले लिया था. Okay, and he had only done his masters in English, and you know, he actually had this 7.5 year old daughter Disha at that time. अब तो बड़ी हो गई होगी. So you know, वो क्या करते थे, whatever he would study, right? Whatever he would study, he will tell the story to the daughter. So आपके पास तो और भी अच्छी चीज है. You can actually tell those stories all together, and you know, you can come out of it. Okay, Lord Jim. Lord Jim is again another important work which is coming, and like I told you that you know the beauty of Sutherland is he balances, वो mix कर देते हैं. So Lord Jim by Joseph Conrad. This is also an important work that you are able to see. Again, you know, when you are looking at Lord Jim, I'll tell you that 1 second. Sorry, these are the 3 important works that I left. Okay, so when we talk about Lord Jim, let me just tell you one particular passage जो इन्होंने Lord Jim से you know ले रखा है. I'll just tell you about this, and Vladimir, yeah. So Lord Jim, you know, look at this. What is the name of the you know, they are set on which particular ship? That is Patna. Patna is there, right? Okay, now please keep that in mind, that you know, Conrad is of course famously considered to be an old sea dog, because he's obsessed with that. He's very loyal overall. That is the thing which is called. Now look at this, okay? Lord Jim is revolving obsessively around an act only, which is not even properly described, right? Properly described altogether. Jim, who becomes infatuated with the sea, he's romantic, right? 50 years later, he would have been a lover altogether. So, you know, there is an entire proper description of Jim's character. The Jim becomes a very lifelike character over here. Lord Jim ki story, you know, which is narrated, Lord Jim's story, which is narrated by Joseph Conrad. It's a story of guilt. It's a story of how you are foregoing your duty altogether, right? So, वो जो complexity आती है, that is something that Lord Jim brings across, right? So how he disrespects his duty for his own survival, and then heavily repents his action altogether. ये भी आप इस तरह वाली stories जैसे you know, you can actually जैसे Lord of the Flies हो गया by William Golding, या फिर Lord Jim हो गया by Joseph Conrad. You can also do it from Oxford Companion. वो अच्छी तरह से they have actually given. Lolita again by Vladimir Nabokov is another very beautifully defined story over here. You know, देखो 2-3 चीजें जो आपको याद रखना है. इसका फुल टाइटल क्या है? लॉलिता और द कन्फेशंस ऑफ अ वाइट विडोड मेल. Lolita, or the reflections, right, or the confessions, beg your pardon, of a white widowed male. That is what you're actually able to, properly see, and you'll have to keep that in mind. Of course, Charlotte Hayes' character, Humbert's character, how you are able to see that Vladimir Nabokov is trying to say, I'll read these lines to you. According to Humbert, Lolita seduces him, and he says, frigid women of the injury, I had thought that months, perhaps years, would elapse before I dared to reveal myself to Dolores Hayes. But by 6, she was wide awake, and by 6:15, we were technically lovers. I'm going to tell you something very strange. It was she who seduced me. So he's trying to put the blame, like Raskolnikov's character. Of course, you can't really compare the acts that they are engaging in. Okay, so please keep that in mind. शब्द Oxford Companion, you can actually easily get it on Google as well. इसका PDF आपको मिल जाएगा. So please keep that in mind. Yes, yes, yes. Tehseen, Edward Said is talking about, yes, of course, he is talking about it. And with this, we actually come on to one of the last works for today. And the last works is Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, The Gentleman by Lawrence Stern. Now Lawrence Stern particularly, so Tobias Fullett, Lawrence Stern, ये वैसे भी Rise of the Novel के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा important है. They're exceptionally important altogether. And here you are able to see that how this is actually the work that according to John Sutherland gave English literature the technique of writing in the moment. Writing in the moment का क्या मतलब होता है? Writing in the moment का मतलब होता है that whatever, it's like impressionism जो हम लोगों ने cover भी किया था, right? What is impressionism? अभी जो I'm feeling. So for instance, if I'm interacting with a bunch of you who are motivated to become future assistant professors, I will write it down immediately. That there is a story of Maya who's having 2 kids. She wants to make a career of her own self, right? She wants to become emotionally and economically independent, or she wants to become an assistant professor. तो अब क्या ये है? ये एकदम से जो मैं लिख रही हूँ, I'm writing in the moment. That is something which is actually getting encouraged overall in Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, The Gentleman altogether. Look at these lines. Look at these lines altogether that are coming, because ये जो स्टोरी है, ये जो ऑटोबायोग्राफी आपको ट्रिस्ट्रम शैंडी की पता चलती है, राइट? ही इज ट्राइंग टू टॉक अबाउट, ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर मल्टीपल डाइग्रेशंस दैट आर कमिंग इन. Good G, cried my father, making an exclamation, but taking care to moderate his voice at the same time. Did ever woman since the creation of the world interrupt a man with such a silly question? And then he continues. So in between, there are these moments where the narrative makes a segue. You're trying to change gears altogether. That is something that you're able to look at, right? अच्छा, शबनम, आपका search ठीक होना चाहिए, right? I can right now only show it to you on Google search. The Oxford Companion to English Literature by Margaret Drabble, PDF. You will get it. Right? Agar if you want, I show it to you right now. You're not checking it properly. Your Google search is, अब आप ये लिखोगे Oxford Companion, तो कैसे उसको कैसे पता चलेगा? हाँ, आप लोग ना बहुत ही वो हो. हाँ शबनम. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Yes, yes. When the reader reads a text and gets impressed by reading the text in the impression, impression is not actually intrinsic or extrinsic per se. Impressionism is what I am able to make out of it. That is something which is important. Fine. Okay, great. Today we have looked at, from looking at Lost Fields to looking at your London Fields, to looking at Lost Illusions, beg your pardon, Lost Illusions by Balzac, or London Fields, right? So all of these works are just a few. तो यही देख रहे हो कि mix है. Lord of the Flies भी है, Lolita भी है, Tristram Shandy भी है, right? And you are also having other works that are like your Lost Illusions, which are little lesser known, but उनके ऊपर भी आपका adaptations बने हुए हैं. So please remember that and keep a note of that particular thing. This is of course important. I will catch up with all of you, like I told you. ठीक है, I will catch up with all of you on Sunday, because Sunday we're going to be having the class, and next Sunday what I'll do is, next Sunday we will be looking at the 50 novels from this particular book as well. So please Sunday ko block your calendars, and I will catch up with all of you. And classroom students, I hope you know that you have a class on Sunday at 2 p.m. as well. Fine. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, Shabnam? Which Margaret Drabble. Just type it. Oxford Companion to English Literature by Margaret Drabble, PDF. ठीक है, ये पूरा आप गूगल पे टाइप करोगे, फर्स्ट सेकंड सर्च ये आपका आ जाएगा. आजकल तो गूगल बुक्स भी हैं. So you can actually look at that as well. Fine. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Take good care of yourself. I'll catch up with all of you on Sunday. Enjoy your Saturday tomorrow. Study as much as you want to, leisurely. And most importantly, आपका आज का homework ये है. This is actually an important thing, but you know, Virginia Woolf has already talked about it. Please work on. I will also try to redo a little bit, of my, because even one of my study rooms is getting a little cluttered. So I will also definitely be working on that tomorrow. But please, and do let me know in the comment section if you're done with decluttering your entire study table. If you are able to make space, a proper space where you just sit and study your reading room. Maybe we'll share the pictures and images, okay, of your reading rooms all together. Because जब तक space नहीं होगी, dedicated space where your family also needs to know that okay, this is time for you to study and they shouldn't disturb you. Fine. Thanks, Fatima, Anushika, Devashish, Anjali, Shabnam, Sonali, Maya. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Tessie, you can watch the recording. It's not an issue at all. Okay. That's great, Satyendra. Thank you so much. Thanks, Fatima. All right. Do like and share and subscribe. Thanks. Thanks, Fatima, for telling us. All right. Thanks, everyone. I will catch up with all of you. Please do work on your study spaces because जब तक आपका study space नहीं होगा, it'll actually become a little problematic. Fine. Thank you. Thank you, Satyendra. That's very sweet of you. Take care, everyone. Good night.